Representative Dettmer, thank you for sitting down and talking to us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your district, and your professional career.
Well, a little bit about myself, going way back to my upbringing on a dairy farm down in southern Minnesota, in Faribault, Minnesota. And my first 6 years in education was on a one-room schoolhouse just across from our dairy farm, one teacher, 6 grades, and outdoor biffies. I mean, it was just, I would never trade that 6 years of my first few years of education for anything. And then, of course, we went on from there into town and so forth, and then college, and then I spent 34 years as an educator and a coach at Forest Lake High School, and teaching and coaching in the physical education department, and a head wrestling coach. Also coached soccer and track. And so those are some backgrounds in terms of a career. I also spent 25 years in the military in the United States Army Reserve. And my wife and I, of 41 years, we have raised 3 children. We have twin sons that after high school they went on to West Point Military Academy. They're currently serving in the military. They're majors now, and have had multiple tours in Iraq, Afghanistan. And now one is based out of New York, where he and his wife mentor cadets at West Point. His twin brother is just left Fort Knox, Kentucky, and the Army sent him to get his master's degree at Georgetown University and University of Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And now him and his family just moved to North Carolina, where he's now teaching military courses at Fort Meade, Maryland. And his wife's a JAG officer, a lawyer, who's now in the private sector. And we have a daughter. After high school, she went to Bethel University and taught in Germany for a couple of years. Her and her family just moved from Phoenix to Minnesota back in March last year, just in time for winter. And she's a banker at Wells Fargo, and her husband now is using his Montgomery GI Bill to get his degree here in Minnesota. And we have 6 grandkids. So we've been blessed as a family, and now I'm in a second part of my life serving in the legislature.
And can you tell us a little bit about your district?
District 39A, which includes Forest Lake, the community where I live, Scandia, the city of Scandia, city of Meridian St. Croix, and it also goes up into Chisago County, which includes Schaefer, the city of Schaefer, and the township of Franconia. And then it goes south towards Stillwater, which takes in May Township and Stillwater Township. And then I have 3 precincts in the city of Stillwater, too, so all the way down to Highway 36. So about 40,000 people that I represent.
What are your top legislative priorities?
Well, I serve on 3 committees here at this session. The State Government, Finance, and Veterans. I also serve on Capital Investment, which includes the bonding for this year, and the Ways and Means. They're all finance committees, and they're important committees. All the committees are, but one area I've really taken an interest in, because I'm a veteran. My sons are serving. My son-in-law is serving, and I know a lot of veterans that come back to our state, looking for work. So I carry a lot of the veterans issues, a lot of the veterans bills. And one bill that we were able to pass a session ago was the Veterans Small Business Bill, which gives some preferences when veterans, small businesses are bidding jobs with Department of Transportation, MnDOT, and the governor signed that, and now the veterans-owned small businesses can get their, at least the foot in the door as they come back from serving our country, get their businesses back up and running and get some jobs. And we're also working on some veterans-owned small business bill that now cities and municipalities and counties can also do that same thing now that MnDOT is doing, give some preferences when they put in their bids.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing your district?
I think my district understands the importance of local control when it comes, whether it's your local municipality, your township, or your city, your school district, county. I think they like to see more grassroots control of what's going on in their communities. Even though the state has a big purpose in terms of public safety, education, funding, those types of things, they still would like to, I feel that my constituents feel that local control is really where it's at. And they can get involved in their city councils, they can get involved in their township meetings and so forth. And I feel that every level of government, whether it's the state level or the federal level or county or city, we need to do whatever we can to allow people to be involved in the decision-making process. So I think I'm looking at 39A. I think people are probably pretty in tune with what's going on in the political process. From the feedback I get, people are in tune.
What is the most difficult aspect of being a legislator?
The key thing that I think people want us to do here in the legislature is to work across the aisle, work together to come up with the best answers for the issues that come before the legislature. You can't do it alone. I've spent most of my time in the minority, and many of the bills that I've come up with through my constituents, I've found somebody across the aisle to author it. I would co-author, and then we would try to get it through the committee process. The same thing happened when I was in the majority for 2 years. People from across the aisle would come with some ideas, some issues, and we'd work things through. I think we need more of that in the legislature. Sometimes things get too partisan. I think knocking on doors, talking to people, they say, well, work together, get things done. I think that's the thing that we need to really work on as a legislature.
If given the chance, who would you like to be for a day, or who would you like to exchange roles with?
I like the role that I'm playing as a father, as a husband, and the years I served in the military, and as an educator. If I was coming out of college tomorrow, graduating, I would do the same thing. I think the role that I've played, who I am, and who my wife says that I need to remain be. In fact, she said, if you come down to the legislature and not continue being a servant to the people, then you're down here for the wrong reason. That's kind of been the theme of when I do campaign. It's a leader with a servant's heart. I think people out there are looking for leaders. It doesn't make any difference what level you serve in, whether it's a high school coach or a teacher or a mayor of a community or a legislator or a president of the United States. People are looking for leaders that will follow through with what they say that they were going to do. And you can always look at people that are in the limelight and whatever, I want to be like that person. But I think as parents and as coaches and teachers and legislators, we are mentors, we are role models for people. And we need to continue being that. And one thing my grandfather mentioned to me, he came over from Germany when he was 14 years old, prior to World War I. And I remember being a small boy and sitting, and he'd always tell us stories. He came to Minnesota, homesteaded our farm, our dairy farm. My father took it over. And he said he would tell us 5 kids that grew up in my family. He says, don't ever forget what it means to be an American. And that's always stuck with me in my heart, because why people came to this country and what we have here, we should never take it for granted what we have here. And it starts in our local, as much as our families. That's where things start, with our family structure. And that's something we need to be concerned about as a nation, is that we strengthen our families, because that's what binds our country together.